Today we're gonna make chocolate chip cookies. Let's get cooking.
Wait. First we have to talk about the different kinds of cookies.
All right, okay, so we have our rolled, our pressed, our bar, refrigerated,
Dropped. and
molded.
yeah. Now, in order to make cookies, we need different types of ingredients that have different functions. The main type, which is for the structure, is the flour. Then, for sweetness and flavor, we have sugars, white and brown. For leavening agent, we have baking soda, and we also have salt for flavor. The vanilla is mainly for flavor as well. The egg acts as protein and as a binding agent. Butter is for sweetness and flakiness. And then we have chocolate chips for the type of cookie that we're making.
Before you start cooking, make sure you put up your hair if you have long hair.
And you also want to roll up your sleeves if you have long sleeves on.
And wash your hands for 20 seconds.
Now, before you start cooking, you always want to preheat the oven. For this recipe, we preheat ours to 375 degrees. Now, we already washed our hands and we measured the ingredients. When you're measuring ingredients, you either use dry measuring, like cups for dry ingredients and make sure you level them off, or a wet measuring cup for wet ingredients, like if you had milk or water in your recipe.
Step one is creaming the sugars with the butter. So add in your white sugar, your brown sugar, and your butter.
And we do this in order to get a flaky cookie.
You also want to make sure you crack your egg into a separate bowl in case it's a bad egg or you get shell into the rest of your ingredients. Make sure you crack it on a flat surface and open it into a bowl. Then you can add it to your mixture whenever it's called for.
Once your creamed mixture looks like this, you add the vanilla and the egg in and beat that.
Next, you need to add your baking soda, salt, and flour. You add the baking soda and salt to your flour and combine the ingredients. Next, you gradually add it to the already blended mixture. Make sure your blender's on lock, turn it on, and slowly add the flour mixture so that it stays clean and doesn't poof all over the counter. You can scrape down the edges as well in order to get any excess flour that got stuck on the sides, and keep blending until your mixture is finished.
Next up, we're going to pour in the chocolate chips, and we're going to hand mix it so that they don't break.
How's your cookie dough?
Wait, you never want to eat raw cookie dough because there's raw eggs in it. Then you might get salmonella poisoning. So we'll take you back when the cookies are already baked.
Picking out a good cookie sheet, you want to make sure that it's lightly colored and flat, because that way the cookies won't burn and they'll be level. So let's scoop now.
Wait, Amanda, you need to grease it so that the cookies won't stick to it.
How can I forget this?
Yeah.
Make sure you do an even layer of greasing with Pam. Now let's scoop. All right. You want to make sure you have about the same size cookies and are about 2 inches away from each other, because they will expand when they bake.
Now, while you're putting your cookie dough on your trays, don't be afraid if you have to go onto 2 in case one gets too crowded. Then once you're done scooping all your cookies on your sheets, then you're finished. For the type of cookies that we made today, you want to bake them for about 9 to 11 minutes. So we'll start them with 9 and move them if they look like they need to be baked a little bit more. Once you're all finished cooking, you need to wash your dishes. Typically, you'd want to use warm soapy water so that it kills any harmful bacteria that are left on the dishes that you used. If you are using 2 different cookie racks, you can put them at 2 different levels. But you might want to cut your cooking time in half so that halfway through you can switch them so that they get the same amount of heat regulation. For our recipe, it calls for 10 minutes. So we're going to start with 5. And then once the timer goes off, we'll switch the 2 and then put them in for another 5 minutes until they look like they're ready to be eaten. Our cookies are all finished. And this is about how they should look when they're done. They'll have a golden brown rim around the bottom and look about how you think a cookie should. You always want to be careful when taking them out of the oven because the oven is hot. Make sure you use an oven mitt so you don't burn your hand. First, you want to pull the tray out and then slide the pan with the cookies towards you. Set them on a surface that will not burn. Then push the tray back in and get out the others. And you're finished making a batch of cookies.
And when you're done, put your cookies on a cooling rack.
Kate, have you learned anything in foods class? This is a cooling rack.
Oh, thanks, Amanda.
Make sure you leave them on for 5 to 10 minutes so you don't burn your mouth.
Katie, don't you want a cookie?
Well, I'm kind of on a diet right now, so no.
Well, even though they're high in fat and sugar, cookies are okay to eat as long as you eat in moderation. So you can have one.
Well, in that case.
And that's the end of our cooking video. How to make chocolate chip cookies.
But if you want to do a random act of kindness, bring your creation to a neighbor. Let's go. Follow me. You want some cookies?
Cookies!
Oh, is this your project?
Yeah! I just made it.
Any of you kids that want to know, this is where Miss Bissell lives, this lovely, beautiful mansion.
And Hudson did the mulching, in case you were wondering.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now let it mix for 5 minutes until your product looks like this.
Amelia, don't you want a cookie?
Well, you see, I'm on a diet right now.
See.